In this video, we're going to take you deep into one of the most daring and dangerous decisions a sailor can make, attempting to circumnavigate the globe without an engine. That's exactly what one American sailor set out to do, relying solely on the wind, seamanship, and his determination. But the ocean doesn't forgive mistakes, and the consequences of his choice would test everything he thought he knew about sailing. We're not just telling a story, we're examining the critical turning points, the overlooked preparations, and the safety measures that could have changed the outcome. Whether you're dreaming of blue water cruising or already crossing oceans, this video reveals the harsh realities of life at sea without an engine, and the vital lessons learned the hard way. From unpredictable weather to equipment failure and human endurance, every element of this voyage teaches something valuable. Could you handle the same situation? By the end, you'll know what worked, what failed, and what no sailor should ever attempt without thinking twice. So trim your sails and stay with us, because this isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a wake-up call for every sailor who thinks they're ready for the open sea. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more true stories and survival lessons from the world of sailing. Let's get started. The Call of the Sea. It was a cold October morning in 2023 when Alex Morgan, a 42-year-old American sailor, stood on the dock in Newport, Rhode Island, gazing at the horizon. The wind blew at 15 knots, rippling Narragansett Bay, while the rising sun painted the sky orange. Before him bobbed the Endeavor, a 38-foot sloop with a fiberglass hull restored by his own hands. There was no engine aboard, only sails, a sextant, and Alex's determination to circumnavigate the globe without mechanical aid, as the ancient navigators did. Alex was no novice. Born in Marblehead, Massachusetts, he grew up sailing the New England coast, mastering sail handling and tide reading from a young age. He competed in races like the Newport Bermuda, but his true fascination lay in the stories of legendary sailors like Joshua Slocum, who, in 1898, completed the first solo circumnavigation aboard the Spray. "I had no need of a dog. I could bark myself," Slocum wrote, a line Alex quoted with a grin. He wanted to prove that, even in 2023, it was possible to sail the world using only wind and skill. But why no engine? For Alex, it was a matter of purity. An engine was a crutch, a betrayal of the essence of sailing. He wanted to feel the sea as the ancients did, relying solely on nature and himself. "The ocean is the greatest teacher," he said, "and I want to learn everything it has to teach." Yet the sea is not just a teacher, it is an unforgiving judge. Preparation, a boat, a dream. The Endeavor was prepared over 2 years. Alex removed the diesel engine, an old 30-horsepower Yanmar, and reinforced the hull with epoxy. He installed a 45-foot mast with a 400-square-foot mainsail and a 300-square-foot Genoa, plus a storm sail and a spinnaker for light winds. Without an engine, he included 2 12-foot sculling oars for maneuvering in calms and a dinghy for kedging, a technique used when the wind died. For navigation, Alex chose traditional methods. A brass sextant, a marine chronometer, and a nautical almanac sat on the chart table. He carried detailed paper charts, a pedestal compass, and a lead line for sounding depths in shallow waters. A small solar panel powered a battery for navigation lights and a VHF radio, but no GPS or autopilot. "If the Polynesians crossed the Pacific with stars and stick charts, I can do the same," he joked. Alex studied routes meticulously. His circumnavigation would follow the trade winds, starting in Newport, heading to Bermuda, 600 nautical miles, then the Caribbean, the Panama Canal, and across the Pacific to the Marquesas, Tahiti, and Fiji. From there, he'd round Australia, cross the Indian Ocean to the Cape of Good Hope, ascend the South Atlantic, and return to Newport. The most dangerous leg would be the Strait of Magellan, a 310 nautical mile passage between South America and Tierra del Fuego, notorious for its violent winds, called willy-waws, and treacherous currents. He trained in celestial navigation, learning to measure the height of the North Star for latitude and use the noon sun for longitude. He practiced dead reckoning, estimating position based on course, speed, and time, and learned to read weather signs. Cirrus clouds signaled cold fronts, while low-flying gulls suggested storms. Alex also stocked the Endeavour with supplies: 200 gallons of water, freeze-dried food for 6 months, and a hand-cranked sewing machine for sail repairs. The departure, Newport to the Caribbean. On October 15, 2023, Alex cast off the Endeavour's lines and sailed from Newport under a clear sky. The first leg to Bermuda was an initial test. He sailed at 6 knots with northwest winds, adjusting the mainsail in Genoa for a 140-degree course. Night brought a starry sky, and Alex used the sextant to fix his position, measuring the altitude of Vega in the constellation Lyra. "It was like talking to the stars," he wrote in his log. Bermuda appeared on the horizon after 5 days, and Alex anchored in St. George's Harbor, replenishing water and inspecting the hull. From there, he headed to the Caribbean, bound for Antigua, 900 miles south. En route, he hit the doldrums, a zone of calms near the equator, where the wind vanished for 2 days. Without an engine, he used the sculling oars, an exhausting task that moved the boat at just 1 knot. It was like rowing a whale, he thought, sweating under the tropical sun. In Antigua, Alex rested and repaired a loose seam in the Genoa. He heard stories from local sailors about the Strait of Magellan, his next major challenge. "You'll need luck and skill down there," an old captain said. Alex smiled but felt a tightness in his chest. The sea was only beginning to test him. The Strait of Magellan, a trial by fire. After transiting the Panama Canal in December 2023, Alex sailed down Chile's coast, reaching the Strait of Magellan in February 2024. The strait, with 310 miles of winding channels, is a nightmare for sailors. Winds of 50 knots, 20-foot waves, and dense fog are common, and without an engine, Alex relied entirely on his sails and instincts. He entered from the east, near Punta Arenas, with the storm sail hoisted. The first day was treacherous. A 60-knot williwaw nearly capsized the Endeavour, forcing Alex to lower the mainsail and sail with just the Genoa. He used tacking, zigzagging against the wind, while monitoring depth with a lead line to avoid sandbanks. "Every mile felt like a battle," he wrote. On the third day, fog reduced visibility to 50 yards. Alex navigated by dead reckoning, estimating his position from the last sighting of a lighthouse. He heard waves crashing on unseen rocks, his heart pounding. Suddenly, the Endeavour grounded on a gravel bank. Without an engine to reverse, Alex deployed the kedge anchor and used the dinghy to pull the boat, a kedging maneuver that took 6 hours in freezing rain. When the boat floated free, he fell to his knees, exhausted but relieved. The strait took 12 days to cross, with Alex facing 3 more williwaws and a 4-knot opposing current. Emerging on the western side near Cape Pilar, he saw seals and penguins swimming, and the sky opened in crystalline blue. "I survived hell," he thought, but the real test was yet to come. The Pacific, beauty and peril. From the strait, Alex crossed the Pacific, sailing 4,000 miles to the Marquesas in French Polynesia. He followed the trade winds, holding a 270-degree course at 7 knots. Nights were magical, the sky a carpet of stars. Alex practiced celestial navigation, using the Southern Cross to confirm latitude. In Nuku Hiva, he learned from local fishermen about stick charts, used by Polynesians to map currents and swells. From the Marquesas, he sailed to Tahiti, then Fiji, facing occasional calms. In one near Samoa, he was becalmed for 3 days, using the sculling oars until his arms ached. "The sea teaches patience," he wrote, but solitude began to weigh. Alex talked to the boat, calling it old friend, and read Slocum's passages for inspiration. In Fiji, he repaired a crack in the mast with epoxy and fiberglass, a 2-day job. He also hand-stitched a torn sail with the manual sewing machine. Each stitch is a promise to keep going, he thought. But the Pacific, despite its beauty, held dangers. A tropical storm with 40-knot winds hit 500 miles from Australia. Alex lowered the sails and deployed a sea anchor to stabilize the boat. But 15-foot waves crashed over the deck, flooding the cockpit. He pumped water manually for hours, fearing the Endeavour would sink. The Southern Ocean, the climax. After rounding Australia and crossing the Indian Ocean, Alex reached the Cape of Good Hope in July 2024. From there, he entered the Southern Ocean, a region dreaded for the roaring 40s, 50 to 60-knot winds that circle the globe unobstructed. He knew it would be the greatest test of his journey. On August 10, 2024, a monstrous storm struck the Endeavour. Winds of 70 knots and 30-foot waves turned the sea into white chaos. Alex hoisted the storm sail, but a gust tore it in half. With no choice, he lashed the helm and let the boat run with the wind, a technique called running before the storm. The Endeavour surfed waves like a board, while Alex clung to the mast, soaked and freezing. During the storm, the mainmast cracked and the Genoa broke free, whipping in the wind. Alex crawled across the deck, cutting the lines with a knife, as waves threw him against the rail. He managed to rig a makeshift sail, but the boat was adrift, far off course. For 3 days, he fought to keep the Endeavour afloat, sleepless, pumping water and repairing damage. "I didn't know if it was the end," he wrote, "but I couldn't give up." On the 4th day, the wind dropped to 20 knots, and Alex used the sextant to fix his position. 1,200 miles southwest of Cape Horn, he stitched a new sail from scraps and reinforced the mast with lines. The storm left him exhausted but transformed. "The sea broke me and rebuilt me," he thought. The return. Lessons from the sea. Alex rounded Cape Horn in September 2024, ascended the South Atlantic, and arrived in Newport on October 10, 2024, after 360 days at sea. A small crowd greeted him at the dock, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the sun set, painting the sky orange, as it had the day he left. The engineless circumnavigation was a success, but at a cost. The Endeavour was battered, its mast compromised and hull scarred by debris collisions. Alex lost 20 pounds, and his mind bore scars from solitude and fear. But he also gained something priceless, a deep connection to the sea and the history of sailing. Lessons learned. Alex's journey teaches critical lessons for sailors. First, preparation is everything. He underestimated the need for spare sails and repair tools, which nearly cost him in the storm. Second, sailing without an engine demands physical and mental endurance. The sculling oars and kedging saved him in calms, but required brutal effort. Third, celestial navigation and dead reckoning are reliable, but demand constant practice. Alex miscalculated his position by 50 miles in the Pacific, which could have been fatal near reefs. The greatest lesson, however, is about respect. The sea tolerates no arrogance. Alex started confident, but the Strait of Magellan and the Southern Ocean taught him humility. "You don't conquer the ocean," he said in an interview. "You ask permission to pass." A call to sailors. Alex Morgan's story is more than an adventure. It's a warning. Sailing without an engine is possible, but requires obsessive preparation, honed skills, and deep respect for the sea. For dreamers of blue water cruising, the message is clear: train, plan, and never underestimate the ocean. For seasoned sailors, it's a reminder that even the best can be tested beyond their limits. When Alex tied the Endeavour to the dock in Newport, he looked at the boat, now a patchwork of repairs and scars, and smiled. "We did it, old friend," he murmured. The sea had taken him to the edge, but it also brought him back, and that perhaps is the greatest consequence of his journey. Proof that, with skill and courage, a sailor can face the impossible and live to tell the tale.